Buy on MTG. Construct your deck. Command your board. Conquer the table.
Hey, everybody on the wide world web. This is Rob with Buy on MTG. Here with some of my friends. We're going to play some Commander tonight. And I am not on the play. You're on the play. So you want to lead us off with what you're playing and what we're doing?
I'm playing Jensen Karthlion Druid Exile. It's my 5-color tokens deck that Chris played a couple weeks back. It's
made
fun.
1 million tokens.
Yeah, there's triggers upon triggers. So
Trigger, please.
trigger
what?
Ritter. I am playing Spellslinger Otters. I have Lutri as a companion because we rule 0 and it's not that bad. And I'm going to try and make otters and sling some spells and probably never pay the 3 to even put that companion in my hand.
Probably
not. 6 minutes. Dual caster attack garbage. Anyways.
My name's Jason. I'm going to play Vohar, the Vodilian Desecrator. It's
and forget your glasses.
I did forget my glasses. That's even better. So playing a little Dimir Reanimator. So hopefully bring some big butts back. All right.
Hey everybody, I'm James. I'm going to play some Jan Jansen, Chaos Crafter. So it's Mardu, and essentially I'm going to try and make artifacts so I can sacrifice artifacts to make more artifacts, and then reach a critical mass. Reach a critical mass, and then have my little Turing machine just like
Do the thing. All right.
Ryan's on the play, leading us off with a tap Triumph, passing to Rob. Drawing for turn, playing an island, and then tapping for the table-grown turn 1 Soul Ring. Passing over to Jason, he draws for turn, then plays a snow-covered swamp, passes to James. James, not wanting to be outdone, draws for turn, plays a swamp, taps it immediately for a turn 1 Soul Ring as well. Wanting to one-up Rob, he taps that for a turn 1 Treasure Map, and then passes over to Ryan. Ryan untaps and draws for turn, shocks in a Breeding Pool, and then taps for a Bloom Tender. Passing over to Rob, he untaps and draws for turn, plays an island, and then taps 3 for a turn 2 Rhystic Study. The table groans again. Passing over to Jason, he untaps and draws for turn, plays an island, then he taps for 2 for Vohar. Triggering Rhystic Study, Rob gets to draw. Passing over to James, he untaps, draws for turn, he plays a tapped Nomad Outpost. James thinks about casting a spell, but it would trigger Rhystic, so instead he passes over to Ryan. Ryan untaps and draws for turn, plays a mountain, and then taps for 3 to cast his commander and pay for Rhystic Study. Rob untaps and draws for turn, plays a fiery islet, taps for a total of 4, taking 1 damage off of the islet, and then plays his commander. Passing over to Jason, he untaps and draws for turn, starts out by activating Vohar to draw and discard. He discards Villas Broker of Blood. The whole table braces for a reanimate. Plays Volrath Stronghold as his land for turn. Jason then taps 1 mana for a currency converter and then pays 1 to Rhystic Study. Jason then moves to his end step, and in response, James activates his treasure map to scry 1. James untaps and draws for turn and plays a Haunted Bridge as his land. James then taps for Mardu for his commander, taps the Soul Ring to pay Rhystic Study, uses the additional floating mana to activate the treasure map. Passing over to Ryan, he untaps and draws for turn. Plays a Mana Confluence as his land for turn, and then pays into and activates Jensen for Wooburg, pays 1 additional. Casting the Kami War, which is going to trigger his commander to make an angel. This also triggers Rob's Rhystic Study, so he gets to draw. With Chapter 1 of the Kami War, he's going to exile that Rhystic Study. Passing over to Rob, he untaps and draws for turn, plays a Lilypad Village as his land. Then taps for 3, taking 1 damage off of the Fiery Islet for a Viren Voice of Duality, has 1 colorless floating. Rob then uses the 1 floating and taps an island for an Otterball Antic, which is going to trigger Viren twice as well as Bria twice. Otterball Antic makes a Prowess triggering Otter token. Bria's Prowess triggering twice because of Viren, and giving himself unblockable twice, swings for 5 commander damage at Ryan. Passing over to Jason, he untaps, draws for turn. Jason starts out by tapping to activate his commander Vohar. He's going to draw and discard a Keurig, son of Yawgmoth. He is going to not put it underneath the currency converter. Jason then plays a swamp as his land for turn. Jason then taps for 3, puts a Windfall on his stack. Jason discards 5 cards, puts 3 of them underneath currency converter. Funny enough, the entire group had exactly 5 cards, so everybody discards and draws 5. Jason then activates his currency converter to put a land back into the graveyard and make a treasure. He then sacrifices that treasure for 1 black and casts Reanimate, targeting Villas Broker of Blood out of his graveyard and pays 8 life. Very accomplished, Jason passes over to James, who untaps and draws for turn. James plays a Fabled Passage as his land for turn and cracks it immediately. James then taps the Soul Ring for 2 for an Orzhov Signet. James then spends 1 into the Orzhov Signet, making 2, casting a Deadly Dispute, sacrificing the Orzhov Signet to draw 2 cards and make a treasure. James then taps for 3 more and casts a Molten Gatekeeper. James then activates Jan Jansen, going to sacrifice a treasure, which is going to make 2 constructs, triggering the Gatekeeper twice. Each opponent takes 2. Jason losing 2 is going to trigger Villas twice, so he's going to draw 2. Passing over to Ryan, he's going to untap and he draws for turn. At the beginning of his first main, the Kami War is going to tick up to Chapter 2, so he is going to return the Villas Broker of Blood back to Jason's hand, and then each of his opponents are going to discard a card. Ryan then plays a Windswept Heath as his land for turn and immediately cracks it. Ryan then taps for 2 for a Hero of Precinct 1. Ryan then taps Bloom Tender for Wooburg, uses 4 of the 5 for Brea. It's going to trigger Hero of Precinct 1 as well as Jensen. Uses the 1 green floating and taps for 2 more for a Fabral Elder, triggering Hero and Jensen again, losing 1 from Mana Confluence. Moves to combat, swings the Vigilance Flying Angel at James for 4. Passing the turn to Rob, he untaps and draws for turn. Rob taps for 4, have 1 floating, taking 1 off the Fiery Islet for a big score. Putting him at a storm count of 1, he discards to the big score, draws 2, and makes 2 treasures. Rob then taps 1 blue and delves 7 more for a treasure cruise, putting his storm count up to 2 and drawing 3 cards. Still digging, Rob taps 1 blue for a ponder, putting the storm count up to 3. Looks at the top 3, puts them back, and finally finds a land, draws the Scalding Tarn and cracks it immediately. Shocks in the Steam Vents. Rob then taps that land and sacrifices a treasure. The cost is reduced by 1 because he controls an otter, and cast Pearl of Wisdom, putting the storm count up to 4, drawing 2 cards. Just to run the numbers, Viren gets +1 for each spell, but he also has Prowess from Brea, and everything triggers twice because of Viren, so 4 spells is +16/+16. The Otter token has Prowess, but the commander gives him Prowess again, and due to Viren, they double trigger, so he is also +16/+16. Brea has Prowess, but does not give himself an additional iteration of Prowess, but he does double trigger due to Viren, so he is +8/+8. Being that each spell was cast would give an opportunity to make unblockable. All 3 creatures of Rob's are unblockable. Sending 35 unblockable at Ryan and 11 commander unblockable at James. James takes the 11 commander damage. Ryan has no responses, so Ryan gets knocked out of the game. Passing the turn to Jason, he untaps and draws for turn, plays a land. Jason activates the currency converter to put Sir Conrad into his graveyard, making a 2/2 token that we don't have. Jason then taps for 3 for a Plague Crafter. Jason sacrificed the Plague Crafter. James is going to sacrifice a Construct token, and Rob sacrifices the Otter token. Jason then taps his commander to activate to draw and discard. Jason discards Villas Broker of Blood again. Jason, killing 1 of Rob's 3 creatures, passes over to James, hoping he can finish the job. James untaps and draws for turn. James plays a Scrubland as his land for turn. James taps a Soul Ring for 2 colorless mana. He uses 1 of it to activate Treasure Map, scrying, and it will flip, making 3 treasures. James taps for 2 more and uses the 1 floating for a Gear per Ether Grid. James taps 3 treasures and his Gatekeeper to activate Gear per Ether Grid twice, putting 2 damage onto Viren. Rob has no response, so Viren dies. James then taps for 2 for a Talisman. James moves to combat and swings the Construct at Rob for 1. Done with his turn, he passes over to Rob, who untaps and draws for turn. Rob plays a Training Center as his land for turn. Rob taps for 4 for a Stormkiln Artist. Rob then taps for 2 for an Expressive Iteration. Rob then puts 1 to bottom, 1 to exile, 1 to hand, makes a treasure from Stormkiln Artist, and has 1 Prowess trigger. Rob cracks the treasure to cast the Faithless Looting from exile, which is going to make a treasure, another prowess, and he draws 2 and discards. Rob then taps for 2, taking 1 off a fire islet, sacrifices a treasure for Jessica's Will, targeting Jason. Jason has 6 cards in hand, so Rob makes 6 red mana. He exiles the top 3 cards because he has his commander, so he does both sides, and he also makes a treasure off a Stormkiln Artist. Prowess count goes up to 3. 2 of the 3 cards exiled from Jessica's Will are lands, and he's already played his land for turn, so he just goes ahead and bins those. Uses 3 of the red floating and 1 of the treasures for a spark double, copying his commander. Sacrificing the last treasure to Preordain, which is going to trigger Stormkiln Artist to make another treasure. Starting an alternate prowess count, 1 for the Brea and 1 for the spark double. He scries 2 and then draws 1. The initial prowess count is up to 4. The spark double prowess count is 1. Spends the last 3 of the red mana and the last treasure for a Rao Crackling Wit. It is an otter on a planeswalker. +1 the Rao to make a prowess otter token. Bringing his commander up to 9 unblockable, sending it to James. Putting James to 20 commander damage, 1 short of knocking him out. Moving to his end step, Jason cycles and draws a card. Passing to Jason, he's going to untap and draw for turn. Jason's going to activate his commander. He's going to draw and discard a War Room, but he's going to redirect it under the currency converter. He then activates the currency converter to put the War Room into the graveyard and make a treasure. Jason then casts a Chrome Mox, exiling Night's Whisper under it. Jason then taps for 4 for a Shieldred the Apocalypse. Jason then taps for 2 for an Animate Dead targeting Sir Conrad. Jason moves to his end step, and in response, James activates Jan Jansen, sacrificing the Construct, which will make 2 treasures, immediately tapping those 2 treasures to the Ghirapur Ether Grid to shoot Rob's Otter token for 1. Then he untaps and draws for turn. Just playing a little catch-up and realizing the Sir Conrad trigger from when James sacrifices Construct, so Rob and James each take a damage. As well as Rob's Otter token died, so Rob and James each lose another. Also, James lost 2 to Shieldred for drawing for turn. James taps 2 treasures to shoot Jason in the face for 1 with his Ghirapur Ether Grid. James activates his flipped treasure map to sacrifice 1 of the tapped treasures to draw a card, but he's going to lose 2 to Shieldred. James then taps 2 for a Liquid Metal Torque. James then taps for 3 more for Descent into Avernus. James then activates Jan Jansen to sacrifice the other tapped treasure to make 2 constructs, which is going to trigger, and Jason and Rob each take 2 damage. James counts how many untapped artifacts he has and assesses how much damage he can do with Ghirapur Ether Grid, and then passes the turn to Rob. Rob's going to untap on his upkeep, no actions, draws for turn, and takes 2 off of Shieldred. Rob then taps 2 blue and delves 6 to Dig Through Time. And with the Dig Through Time on the stack, he's going to tap for 2 in Galvanic Iteration to copy it. Prowess count is going to be 2. The Stormkiln Artist is going to trigger twice, so he makes 2 treasures, and then he resolves 2 Dig Through Times. Casting 2 spells will also add 2 loyalty counters to Rao Crackling Wit. Dig Through Time specifically says to put the cards into your hand so it gets around Shieldred. After resolving both Dig Through Times, Rob plays a mountain as his land for turn. Rob is going to crack a treasure to cast Op, which is going to increase the prowess count to 3, trigger Stormkiln Artist to make a treasure, and put another loyalty on Rao Crackling Wit. Rob scries 1, and then draws a card, so he's going to take 2 from Shieldred. Rob then taps for 3 to make a Cursed Mirror, copying Stormkiln Artist, missing the loyalty counter onto Rao. Sacrificing 2 treasures and tapping 1 more to flashback Faithless Looting. It's going to trigger both of the Stormkiln Artists to make 2 more treasures. The Rao is going to get a +1 counter. Rob's going to draw 2 and discard 2, but he's going to lose 4 to Shieldred. Counting the prowess triggers because Bree gives everything prowess, as well as the Spark Double giving everything prowess again, so everything gets +8/+8. Bree's going to be an 11/11. The Spark Double is a 12/12 due to the +1 counter. And the Stormkiln Artist is a 13/11. The Cursed Mirror copy of Stormkiln Artist is a 7/5. Moving to combat, he sends the 14 unblockable commander at James and the 35 unblockable at Jason. In response, Jason sacrifices the treasure for black and activates Sir Conrad for everybody to mill 1. Nobody milled a creature, so nobody takes any damage. Jason has no further action, so he passes priority over to James, who's going to tap 8 artifacts to do 4 damage to Rob's face. And that is enough damage to knock out James and Jason, making Rob the winner. Good game, everybody. Hello, everybody in the wide world of web. This is Rob with Bion MTG. Just finished editing this Commander game with Ryan and James and Jason and I. The Brea deck definitely had the opportunity to pop off, and in all honesty, anytime you're giving something prowess and you have Viren in play, just doubling triggers, it makes the damage add up real fast. Ryan was definitely coming out pretty quick, having Wooburg online real fast and the Kami War, but definitely wasn't able to deal with me when I was swinging for combat damage. He showed me in game he had a Path of Exile, but he didn't tap correctly. He wasn't expecting the Brea deck to be that explosive. Otherwise, he would have left up a white, and it would have made the game very different in the long run. Jason was digging for answers and was unfortunately unable to come up with anything real quick. And similarly with James, with Jen Jensen, it made the Otter deck look a lot stronger than it normally does, but overall, you got to close the game out somehow, and apparently it was prowess triggers this time. Hope you enjoyed the game, and not filming anything this week because we got some family moving and whatnot, and next week is going to be the Christmas and Hanukkah and whatnot holidays, so I'm not going to be filming anything that week either. But I'll continue to produce content. It'll just be solo content, and I hope you enjoy it. I'm Rob. This is Bion MTG. Good luck and have fun.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below.